Yeah.
Uh,
What's that? I have no idea. We've got things hooked up. The audio's going through. Here's the sound. The full-time producer who do this stuff for us. Hey!
well, hi, everybody.
Oh.
We're professionals here, Pete.
All right. We should do a podcast. It'll be easy.
Everybody has a podcast.
You press a few buttons, and then you talk in large, echoey rooms. How hard can it possibly be? Hey, I just got a tip on my Podbean Live app. It says to get better sound quality and avoid echo, please use a mic. All right, thanks a lot. That's excellent feedback. Hey, everybody. Hello to Terry, Taria, Michael G, Tony, Mikey. Sue has decided to say, you know what? Stuff happens. Maybe they're saying the other word, Brian, but hopefully just stuff happens. And we're going to stick with it because we can't imagine life without a week of Pete and Brian, leadership and laughs. How you doing out there in Denver, buddy?
Oh, man. Doing really, really well. I can't believe it's already Wednesday. This week has just flown by. I feel like every year we always say oh, man, I can't believe it's August. But I don't know what it is. The older we get, the more time flies. But during this pandemic and everybody, quarantining, staying at home and whatever, I just feel like yesterday we had show number 7 and now it's show number 8.
No, you're 100% correct. And my wife still works in the office. So she's going into the office every single day and she'll come and I'm working remotely. So I'm constantly saying things like, I have no idea what day it is. I don't know. And she's like, it's Thursday. It's Tuesday, because her schedule hasn't changed. She's still going into the office. But you're right. Working remotely has truly been a difference maker as far as keeping track of all of the, all of your days and things like that. So we got a great show for you today. For all of you who are listening, if it's your first time, we're glad to have you. This is an hour-long show, although today it'll be 10 minutes because we used the first 55 minutes to log on. We just take a fun look at leadership. We like to talk about some current events or some fun things that are happening. We encourage you, please, to type into the chat box. Give us your thoughts. Tell us hello. Like, I'll go ahead and type in hello right now. Glad to have you. The more you type in, the more you call. Brian, we love callers, don't we, buddy?
We love callers. If you want to call in and just heckle Pete for sounding echoey, by all means, hit the little call-in button. If you want to play over/under live when we do our fun game show, hit the call-in button and we'll see what you think.
Absolutely. So we are so glad to have you along with us, Brian. We're going to go ahead and get started with your segment, which is just called. It's called. I don't know what it's called. It's called like, hey, this is exciting, but this is the time when I say, hey, my buddy Brian Voggy is going to share some information with you. He's going to tell you great things. And it's called Leading Off with Brian. Give it up for Brian, everybody. Brian.
All right. Hi, everybody. So, we're going to lead off with, one or two interesting stories. These tend to be today a little bit more laughs, a little bit light on the leadership. But here's the thing. We are going to ask Pete to try and tie these in to a leadership lesson.
I love it.
Pete, you sound good.
This is the history of podcasting 101. Always go into a room with lots of furniture and lots of bookshelves and things like that. I was in my dining room because it was my backup computer. And so you go to a room that has lots of carpeting and things like that, you sound better. So there you go.
There you go. All right. You sound a little better. We're going to get this thing. This is show number 8, and eventually we're going to figure it out. Love it. So, Pete, here's the first item that is in the news, and this is a real item. You're going to think I made it up, but this was on CNN, and the title is this: Antarctic penguins release an extreme amount of laughing gas in their feces, it turns out. So laughing gas isn't just something they give you at the dentist. It also comes out of penguin poop. And you're probably all wondering, how did they figure that out? How do they know?
Right. Well, I want to know. Let me know.
This is an actual, I love science. It can help us come up with a vaccine for this COVID-19, or tell us that laughing gas is contained in penguin guano. So this was actually published in the Journal of Science of the Total Environment, and it's a study that examined the effects of the king penguin's colonies' activity on things like greenhouse gases and soil influx down in Antarctica. So one finding was particularly unique, and that is that penguin poop, which is also known as guano, actually produces.
Give yourself a bell on that, my friend.
What's that?
Give yourself a bell.
Oh,
guano is correct.
Guano is correct. Apparently, it produces an extremely high level of nitrous oxide, commonly known as laughing gas. And the author of the study said it's so intense that one of their researchers went, and I'm quoting here, completely cuckoo, nosing about in the guano for several hours.
All right. So, okay. So you've got people who are scientists who love to learn and do things, Brian, and you're telling me that this gentleman said, you know what I would like to do? I would like to spend some time around penguin feces so that I can figure out what's happening.
That's right, Pete. So
I don't understand it.
Well, when these penguins poop, their diet is, their diet is full of fish and squid and what do they call the little microscopic krill?
Krill.
Yeah, apparently nitrogen is released from their poop into the ground, and the bacteria in the soil then converts the nitrogen into nitrous oxide.
Okay, well,
so that's your laughing gas.
Let's open this up to the listeners today. Type in the comments, what is the leadership lesson from this? What can we gain as leaders by now knowing that penguin poop emits laughing gas? Take this story and tie it into a leadership. I've got one, but I want to see what's out there. Tie it into a leadership lesson for us. Brian, what do we see coming in?
Nothing. I see some, Michael Glazer was kind enough to give us some laughing emoji icons, but nobody really has any idea. I'll throw my hat in the ring and say that, it goes to true devotion to your work. Says the lovely and talented Terry. There may be some value from crap. Treadville, love it. Treadville gets a bell. But I think it goes to, in this case, showing that penguins. I'm echoing. Penguins have an influence over their environment, and that may be where we tie it in.
Absolutely. I love it. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that we are products of our environment. And if you've got employees who may not be doing good things, or you think they're delivering poor work or stuff like that, at the end, the stuff they're delivering, maybe you got to dig a little deeper to see the good things that your employees are doing. Maybe you got to get in there and get your hands dirty as the leader, Brian, to find out that they truly are adding value. Most people are looking, Brian, and going, that penguin's just pooping. That's a bunch of poop. But this man got involved and said it adds value. So as a leader, don't just stand back and take other people's word for it. Get in there, get your hands dirty, and figure out what people are adding value. You like that?
I love it. I'm applauding over here in Denver for you, buddy.
You cannot stump me when it comes to leadership lessons. I love it, Brian, and I would like to hear another one.
Well, I just want to say that, Joseph points out that if you look hard enough, you will find some crap.
And look, Brian, let me tell you something. You kind of own the board right now because we had so many train wrecks getting started that I can't see anybody's comments. So you
Oh,
are the only one that can see the comments.
I
So
wish I.
you get to
All right.
like interact with people. All I can do is type the word hello, like
Yep.
over
I
and
saw the
over.
Pete's points says hello, hello, hello.
So
All right, I got one for you, Pete.
all right, let's do it, buddy.
All right, there was a new survey that came out by the Water Quality and Health Council, which is an independent uh, group of scientific experts and health professionals, consumer advocates, and it's sponsored by the American Chemistry Council's Chlorine Chemistry Division.
Okay.
Right, so
So it sounds important. Bring
it
it.
sounds important. We're talking about chlorine. They found that 30% of pool owners admitted to peeing in their own pool.
Oh my word. Brian, you know I have a pool.
Yeah. I mean, you have a pool here in Denver. We don't have too many in-ground pools. We had them in Florida, of course, when we lived there. But here it's going to be the community pool, which I will tell you this concerns me a little bit more now because 30% of pool owners admitted to peeing in their own pool. And then the survey also found that 16% of swimmers admitted to peeing in someone else's backyard pool.
Okay. If you had done this as an over under, I would have totally lost because I like to think that people now here's the thing. Swimmers in other people's pools, I thought would be larger. Because if Brian, if I come to your pool and I have to go, no, I'm not going to do it. but I can see where people would have less respect. But for pool owners, I guess maybe you say you own it. It's my pool, my rules, and if you don't want to come swim in my pool, you don't have to.
If you don't want to come swimming around in my pee.
Do you remember that this is full 1970s, but I used to think it was cool when we go to the pool store with my dad because we grew up with the pool and there were these big signs
Yes.
and they would say things like, welcome to our pool, OOL.
Uh-huh.
And they would say, notice there's no P in our pool. Let's keep it that way.
Right.
And I always wanted my parents to buy that sign and hang it on our patio. And they thought it was gauche and no, and we can't. But I would always just say, welcome to our ool. And they're like, stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
It's not funny. So
same survey, Pete, found that 28% of pool owners said that they would swim within 1 hour of having diarrhea. Figured that.
I don't know why we chose these topics today. All right. Can I please get the audience, Brian, to type in the leadership lesson from people who pee in their own pools or pee in other people's pools? There's got to be a leadership lesson that ties into what we're learning today. You said 30% of owners pee in their pools, 16% of people will pee in somebody else's pool, and over 20% of somebody who has heartburn, something indigestion, something diarrhea. Well, when you have heartburn, indigestion.
Yeah.
All right.
So Chadville points out that this show is all about poop today, and of course you're right there, Chadville.
This show is going in the crapper. Yes.
That's how we started, so that's how we're continuing. We have a couple of comments that say it's gross or it's disgusting. Michael says enough chlorine will eliminate any contaminants.
Okay.
However, I will point out that officials from this survey say that urine reacts with chlorine, which actually goes the other way. It reduces the amount of chlorine available to kill the dangerous viruses in the pool water. So,
wow. So when you're peeing, you're killing the chlorine that you think is going to be doing it. How about that?
Yeah. How about that? So, right. what do you got for us there, Pete?
Brian, this is an easy one, my friend. Leaders need to decide that when you own something, are you allowed to sort of take it above and beyond and destroy it? Hey, this is my team. Hey, this is my department. If I want to write on the desk in my office, I'm going to do so. Hey, if I want to not motivate and inspire my team, If I'm going to be a horrible manager, hey, it's mine. I own it. So you can't coach me on that. And the leadership lesson is even though you own something, you always got to be considerate of the people around you. So even if you've got a team and you say, this is my team, my building, my department, my auto repair store, it's mine. I can do what I want. Not so fast, my friend. Don't start peeing in your own organization because a lot of people aren't going to like that.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah.
I tell you what, your record for over under is a little bit lower, but your record here in tying it back to leadership is 100%.
Keep me in my lane, my friend. Keep me in my lane. Let's do one more.
All right. Let's see. One more. So,
I thought you had one more. I have no idea. You're like, I'll go find one.
Let's talk about the new. If any of our listeners have been on Facebook recently, you have seen a whole bunch of people that are sharing their new Facebook avatars. Facebook has released a new. It's basically their answer to the Bitmoji, Pete.
Yes.
And your new Facebook avatar. There is a way to do it. I don't know how to do it, but I did it last night because somebody sent me a link, and so I have a Facebook avatar. And what do you think about the Facebook avatar? Have you seen it yet?
Yes, I have, and there's two sides to every story, Brian. One of the sides, I wish I had a camera right now, so I could explain to you why I do or don't like this concept of the avatar. Part of me doesn't want to be part of it, Brian, because it's already
trending.
Yeah, it's already trending, and you have to be careful when something is trending like that because you end up doing everything. On the other hand, as I'm looking at people's items, it's unbelievable how close they look to the real thing. So I will give Facebook credit. I'm looking at some of these avatars and I'm like, these look really good. Like that looks just like that person. So it is kind of fun. It is kind of a neat way. Why don't you poll the audience? Tell people to go ahead and type in the chat box.
What do you think, folks? Have you had a chance to create your new Facebook avatar? And do you think it looks like you? One of the things I noticed, Pete, about the when you go ahead and create your Facebook avatar is they give there's a really robust selection of facial types, body types, skin color, eye color. Nobody can see me now, which is a good thing because I've said it before. I have a face that was built for radio. But I shave my head and bald on top, but I've got a goatee with no mustache, if that makes sense. Just a beard on my chin, and I'm trying to think of a celebrity that I look like, but that's not coming to mind.
You look like the guy from the Six Flags commercials. That one?
No, that's that guy has big black glasses and I don't. Also, he's 100.
He's a little guy. What are the people saying about their avatars? Who has them?
All right, so there's Music Lady. Hi, Music Lady. Music Lady says she liked it because I can make myself look younger and thinner.
Perfect. Love it.
Tradville says I look like The Rock. That's a bell,
Nice.
And your check is in the mail, Tradville. Thank you. But anyway, the avatars have lots of different ways that you can customize your self, the representation of yourself as you're on social media. So you were mentioning, Pete, that one of the leadership lessons that might come out of this is that are you going to follow the trend? When and at what
Right.
point? At what point do you follow the trend?
Right. And I think that would be my leadership lesson is know when to go with the pack, Brian, and know when to go against the pack. For example, a lot of people don't watch Tiger King. And if you're one of our international listeners, there's a show on Netflix called Tiger King, and it's extremely popular here in the US. And most people I know have watched it. Well, some people have made it almost their life's mission, Brian, not like that. I refuse to watch any episodes of the Tiger King. And I kind of respect that. Part of me goes, I think you're missing a funny, interesting show. But I'm proud of you. Some people will be like, I am not going to do a Facebook avatar. I'm not going down that. So this leadership lesson for you, Brian, is once you find a lane, stick with it and stick to your guns. Be strong in what you believe in. Whatever your morals, values are, be strong in those, stay with them, and don't waver when it comes to those. What do you think about that?
Well done, Pete.
Man, thank you, buddy.
Give you the claps for that.
I absolutely appreciate you. Hey, are you ready to move on to our next topic? Let's see if I've got I think it's the same as your music. Actually, Brian, this is the part of the day where we talk about poor management and poor leadership, Brian. And it makes people ask the question,
they did what?
Yeah, and I've only got one. Go ahead.
They did what? So I wanted to point out that one of our listeners is my lovely mom, and she pointed out to me. She says, "By the way, when you do the They Did What segment, you need to go ahead and record that, and then play the same one over and over through the computer because you're going to hurt your voice."
Oh. Mom is so good to you. Mom's
I love it.
You should record it once and make it a drop so you don't have to say it every single time.
So thank you so much. That is a really good suggestion.
Thanks, Mom.
We appreciate that.
Thanks, Mom.
And as soon as we get the technical problems figured out here, maybe we will look into that.
Yeah.
Tradville says maybe she has advice for Pete on how to do the audio.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Vaghi. Appreciate you. All right, so here's one. I want you to remember the name, Brian. Kenny Robinson Jr. Robinson Jr. I've only got one They Did What today, but it's a good one. It's a good one. This is a positive message. And those of you who follow me a little bit, either on social media or on YouTube, I've got this concept, Brian, called Pick Up the Roach. And Pick Up the Roach is all about there's 6 legs to a roach. There's 6 legs of leadership. And one of the legs is called Own Up, O-W-N, Own Up, which is leaders take responsibility. And I think that's an important part for leaders to do because a lot of times we hear people blaming the system or blaming somebody else, or that's not what I meant. And I think true leaders, in fact, studies have shown, Brian, that if you make a mistake and you come back and admit it and say, I'm sorry, your trust and respect ratings go up. They're higher than they would if you never made a mistake at all. Now, I'm not saying you all need to go out and screw something up and mess up so you can come back and apologize. But those people who make mistakes and then make amends for them are viewed higher from their direct reports than those who never make mistakes. So here's this story. It's Kenny Robinson Jr. And he was up for the NFL draft. He played at West Virginia. And this past year, he was going to be eligible for the NFL draft, which just happened in April, I think April 20th through 23rd. So he decided to write a letter to all NFL general managers.
He did what?
He did what? He wrote a letter to the NFL general managers. And I want to share his story with you all real quick so that you can either follow him or just get this leadership lesson from him. So in November of 2018, his mom had a stroke. Okay, so his mom had a stroke. He went home to see her, went home to Pittsburgh. She was okay. He went back to school after that. In February of 2019, just before spring practice for football started, Brian, he was home, saw an ambulance. His mom had another stroke. So he's home with her. He goes back to spring practice. About a week later, she calls and she says, I've got colon cancer. So now this hit him like a ton of bricks. He's got all these things happening with his personal life. He was blindsided. The biggest question he had, besides his mom's health, was how is he going to replace her income? How is he going to help support the family with all the medical bills? And he told his mom, put this on me, Mom. I'm going to take care of everybody. And then he says, I went back to school and made the one big mistake that changed everything. So this is in 2019, remember. He was a really good defensive back. for West Virginia University.
Okay.
2018, he had a couple of pick sixes, so that's great. He made first team All Big 12.
What's
He
a
was
pick
leader
six,
on
Pete?
You're intercepting that ball, Brian. You're taking it all the way to the end. By the way, sidebar conversation. I told my son the other day that his girlfriend, he's 18, she's 18. I said, man, you really outkicked your coverage. He's like, what does that mean? I had to explain to him what outkick your coverage means. So,
Yeah.
So right after spring ball, Kenny goes back to Pittsburgh for a funeral, but he had to go to the funeral. He was so lazy with his schoolwork that he asked a friend to help him with his classes, which were all online. Quote, I had an assignment due the same week that I went home for the funeral, and I asked my friend to do it for me. She did, but she turned it in at the same time that I was scheduled to be in a team meeting. And the team knew I wasn't at the meeting because I was back home at a funeral for a family friend. So the timing of everything raised a red flag to the university. So when he got back on campus, he had a meeting with the Office of Student Conduct. They were going to investigate him for academic dishonesty.
Right.
But he kept going through spring practice, and he knew he had a clean record, Brian. He had no trouble off the field, so he was confident he'd be playing ball in fall of 2019, last year. The university didn't see it that way, Brian, and right after spring ball, they kicked him out of school for cheating. Then, listen to this in his letter to the NFL GMs. Quote, I don't have any problem admitting it. I cheated. I got caught. I made a stupid decision, and I don't have any excuses. I had the opportunity to do the right thing, and I chose to do the wrong thing. That's it. I own that. End quote. So he's all crushed now. He had to go home. His mom kept saying, why are you home? Why aren't you at school? Why are you at home? So after a couple of weeks, I had to man up and tell her. I just sat down in her living room and told her what I had done. I gave her the whole story. She just sat there with this blank look on her face, shaking her head in disappointment. When I finally got to the part where I had gotten expelled, she spoke up and said, stop playing with me. She said, just go. I can't even talk to you right now. And that was probably the lowest point, Brian, seeing that pain and disappointment in his mom's eyes. I knew I had messed up. Believe me, I was disappointed in myself as anybody, but seeing how much it hurt my mom hit me in a different way. And I was going to do everything I could to make it up to her. So long story short, Brian, he talked about transferring, he talked about going to Florida, our alma mater, but he went through the XFL instead. So the XFL just had about a 1 year, and he went there, played for the St. Louis Battlehawks, was drafted for them in the 5th round. But you know what happened to the XFL? It just folded. So he made himself, more than once. So he says, the mistake I made at West Virginia that changed my entire life was a learning experience, a growing experience. I had to take ownership of my mistake and deal with the consequences by taking my future into my own hands and carving my own path. I'm still going to go back and get my degree because I've grown to understand the importance of an education. So in this, he's pleading for the NFL GMs, take a chance on him, take a chance on me. I'm not the bad guy that everybody's making me out to be. So he did get drafted by the Carolina Panthers. He got drafted in the 5th round, number 152. And when he was being interviewed by the reporters after he got drafted, they kept harping on this thing. They kept harping on, hey, we heard you cheated. We heard you're a cheater. And here's what he said after he got drafted. Quote, a lot of people who have problems don't own up to their mistakes. And I felt like I need to make a point that I owned up to my mistakes. I know it was a mistake, but I learned from it. I'm moving on and I'm becoming a better person. Just owning up to the whole situation and learning from it, I felt like I became a better man that will help me in the back end. So how about that, Brian? I mean,
wow,
you talk about it, they did what? I mean,
that's a positive they did what. I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to my parents and leaders in my life for all of the learning experiences that we went through together.
And that we may have lied about and not taken. No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. And that's the thing in this lesson, Brian. I mean, we hear so many people, it could be politicians, it could be leaders who are saying, not my fault. I didn't say that. No, someone forced me to do it. Well, you don't know my circumstances. Well, my situation is different than yours. How dare you judge me? He could have used any of those. He could have said, "You don't know where I grow up. Hey, my mom had cancer. You don't know how hard this is." He didn't. He said, "Hey, I cheated. My bad. I own it. I'll take the consequences." And you talk about a leadership lesson. And by the way, about his mom, she's doing fine. About 2 weeks into the quarantine recently, she was released from the hospital, and they said that she was completely cancer free. So there you go. There you go. And that's just, I mean, they did what I love when I hear leaders own up to mistakes. I'm trying to do it, as well. I think we all should do it, and we should definitely own up.
Yeah, I agree, and that goes for I exist in the marketing world, and it's true for corporations as well. You'll always get a much better public response or response from the public if you own up to a mistake that happened, and
Yeah.
where we apologize for X, Y, and Z, and here are the steps that we are taking to correct that in the future.
And one more analogy on this, by the way. I'm a huge reality TV fan. I have many faults. This is one of them.
Yeah.
And if you follow reality TV, specifically The Bachelor, Brian, you may be familiar with someone named Hannah Brown, who used an inappropriate word recently. Again, what she should have done is right away, "My bad, I did it, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah." Her first response was, "Well, that wasn't really me talking. That was somebody else. Maybe you heard it wrong." So when she finally did come out with her mea culpa, it was too late because she did not own that.
Or
So
they'll issue an apology that's not an apology, like, "I'm sorry to anyone who may have been offended."
correct. So yeah, so that's to me, that's a happy story, and just good things. Other things that kind of make me happy, Brian.
What else makes you happy, Pete?
I think it's time for America's favorite game show, Brian.
Hey,
It's
and what is
time for
that?
what, Brian?
Do we have theme
Over
music for this?
and under.
Over under, everybody. It's
Over under.
everybody's favorite leadership statistics game show.
Who doesn't love that? You
Oh,
couldn't-
the listeners are texting in, yay, yay, yay. They're
Yay.
excited for over
You had to
under.
listen through all the other garbage. This is why we don't lead with this. If we led with this game, people would bail
Everybody
out.
would hang up.
And right after. Right. So no, you got to hang out to the end.
Yeah,
So,
there you
absolutely.
go. So
All right. Tell people how to play, Brian.
over under, here's how it works. If you're a new listener, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to present Pete with a few interesting and hopefully timely statistics that surround leadership or something going on in the news, leadership or laughs, and he's going to have to decide if the actual number that I give him is over or under the real answer. Now, I've kept these hidden from Pete.
Correct.
We do a little pre-show Zoom meeting, and we talk about.
You wouldn't think so, but we do.
We do, but I don't share these with him because there's no cheating on leadership and laughs.
And there's no cheating on over or under. All right, I'm ready, buddy. And by the way, I am now 3 for 15, I believe. 3 for 15.
Okay, that's
good.
We got to work on that a little bit here, and we want to encourage all of you to play along as well. So feel free to hit that call-in button and play along live, or text your answers in as we try to guess over or under. So let me ask this to begin with, and we do have the theme music. Yay!
All right, go ahead.
All right. So before we get to the actual numbers, let's see if Pete or any of our listeners can guess right out of the gate. Leadership development. Let's talk about leadership development.
Yes.
Corporate training in the United States, the ASTD, which is the American Society for Training and Development.
Which is now they've rebranded to ATD for association.
Right. That's exactly right. The ATD estimates that U.S. companies spend hundreds of billions of dollars on training and development. And I will ask all of you, just go ahead and type in what you think it is. Leadership development. Now, not leadership development being a smaller set of training and development as a whole, accounted for what percentage of the total spend on training and development? What do you think?
Is this the over under, or are we just having
No,
fun with it?
no. This is just go ahead and give us what do you think?
I'm
Leadership
going to,
development.
I'm going to type my answer in as well, Brian.
All right. So Pete says 30%. Tradville says 10. Joseph says 25.
Let's give him some thinking music.
Some thinking. There we go. All right. What is the percentage of the total budget that's spent on leadership development?
Because training and development can be things like onboarding, new hire orientation, safety training, OSHA training, all that. You're saying how much is spent just on developing leaders? I say 30%. What do you got?
All right, you're way over, Pete. And the lovely and talented Terry has typed in with 12, and Jilly Jill says 15. Tradville said 10. All of them are dancing all around it. It's actually 13.5%. 13.5% of the total training development budget is spent on leadership development. What do you think of
Wow.
that?
I think we should spend more. I think I think your frontline leaders and your managers are probably the most important part of the organ. People always say, Brian, the frontline leaders are the most important, and there's some truth to that. I mean, the frontline employees, but if you don't have a good frontline management team who's motivating, inspiring, engaging those people, being there for them, those people are going to turn over real fast. So, yeah, I think we need to spend more. That's just me.
All right. Let's get right into it. Here we go. 88% of the survey that we're looking at today. It was a survey of 1,200 professionals across different organizations, training and development wise. 88% said that receiving praise from their manager, from their leaders, was either very or extremely rewarding. What percentage said that recognition was actually more fulfilling than financial rewards?
Out of 100?
Right. So 80, I'm going to give you the hint. 88% said receiving praise from their leader was extremely rewarding. But what percentage said it was actually more fulfilling than financial rewards? I'll put the over under at 75%.
I'm going to go, as I always do, Brian, with the under, because unfortunately I want it to be over, but people are still motivated by money. They can't figure out a way. Some people who like, but then again, you're saying the people who like recognition. You've done very well today. I'm sticking with my under. I'm going under 75%. People are silly.
What about
They
you,
want the
listeners? What do you think? We have an under, we have an over. Michael Glaser says 75.01.
So he's taking the over by a smidge.
We played close to the edge here, Michael. All right.
All right.
So you said under, and unfortunately the answer is over. It was 83%. So if you said over, give yourself a bell.
Horrible,
yeah,
right?
83%, Pete, said that recognition was actually more fulfilling than financial rewards. Now, I don't presume to think that these folks wouldn't want to earn more money or to be paid more, but they actually value the recognition more than they value the paycheck.
We had Terry calling in. Tell her I apologize. Please call in again. I wasn't looking at my screen. But let me tell you something, Brian. I think what we need to be aware of is, as leaders, if people want it so bad, we doggone better be giving them the recognition that they need. Terry, go ahead. You're on Leadership and Laughs.
Hi. I was going to play the game with you.
All right.
I was going to say over, but you wouldn't pick up my call.
Well, Terry gets a bell.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if we will, let's play the next one, Brian.
All right. Terry's going to play along. This is exciting.
Here we go.
All right. Let's talk about engagement, employee engagement. In a recent survey by Gallup, you've heard of Gallup. It's not just something horses do.
Give yourself a bell.
No, this is where you play the
No.
crickets or the.
Even Terry said, no, hold on. I'm like, start the whole
There
thing
we
again,
go.
Brian.
All right. So we're going to talk about
According to
employee
Gallup.
engagement. Engagement isn't easy. There was a recent survey by the Gallup organization. Gallup is not just something that horses do, Pete. See, that played a lot better. We'll fix
so
that. We'll fix that in post-production,
bro.
everybody. All right. So according to a Gallup poll on employee engagement, what percentage of United States workers admit that they are disengaged? Is it over or under 50%?
Terry, I'm going to need you on this because you know how
over.
Well, tell us why.
Because there's a lot of people who are just that's their job. You see it a lot in the workplace. You hear it.
A lot of people are disengaged. We have folks typing in who agree with Terry that it is going to be over in this case. So over or under 50%. Jilly Jill says over. Michael Glaze leadership, says over. And Pete, what do you say?
If this were like Match Game, Brian, they would say you've gotten a celebrity, Terry, to give you the answer. You can take that or you can go out on your own. I'm going to stick with the celebrity, Terry. She says over. I'm going over.
Yay!
Well done to everyone who said over. You'll be outfitted with some lovely parting gifts. Thank you for calling in, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Be ready for your Leadership and Laughs T-shirt is on the way.
And barbecue sauce.
And barbecue sauce. You talk about a loyal listener. She's referencing
I am an
episode
early
1 or
listener.
2 or something. Wow.
Terry's been on from the beginning. I love it. Yes, you'll get some barbecue sauce on a T-shirt. That's what happens every time I grill. So, it's actually
Terry. Can you stay on the line and do the third one for us as well?
Oh, sure.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
56% is the answer. 56% of United States workers say they are disengaged, and 18% of those admit that they're actively zoning out in the office.
Let me tell you something, Brian. In some of my speeches I do around the world.
Yes. Hashtag is a sponsor.
I talk about employee engagement a lot, and you'd be surprised the amount of actively disengaged people that people tell me that they have. Disengaged is one thing, Brian. To be like, not engaged and I'm coming to work, but to be actively disengaged, you are at work every day telling people how bad it is to work there. You're sabotaging people, and you said there's 18% of people who are doing that. That's just
who are actively who admit. Yes. It's probably a little higher, but it's.
Yeah, I hate it here.
They're like, I just surf Reddit all day at work.
Yeah, and then you ask why are they here, and they're like, the insurance, the benefits. Where am I going to go? So again, leaders got to get with them. All right, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Third one coming up. I'm now 1 for 2, thanks to the fantastic Terry. So I'm going to keep her as my good luck charm. I'm not at all keeping her because our engagement score goes up the longer a caller stays on the line. I'm actually keeping her because she's my good luck charm. All right, give us number 3, buddy.
All right, and I just want to give a plug here to our caller, Terry. She is, I keep calling her the lovely and talented Terry. Terry has been married to me. She has terrible taste in men. She's been married to me for 27 years, but But I just wanted to point out that she is in a different room of our house. She's upstairs and far away from me. She cannot see over my shoulder what the actual answers are. So she is.
I hear you coming up through the air vents.
That's an excellent.
Hey, as long as you don't smell me coming up through the air vents.
Oh, it smells like penguin farts. All right, for those I don't get a bell for that. For those of you who are listening and like, I thought this show was 1 hour. It is 1 hour, and it's about 9:00 Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. But because we started 15 to 20 minutes late, because of the audio technicalities. That's why we're going on a little. So if you have to go, if you've got a meeting, we want to let you know. We thank you, but that's why we're going a little longer today. Thanks a lot. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
But if you can, stick around for this
We'd love
last
to have
over
you.
under. We have one more going on here, and that is this. Pete, there was a recent survey of 212 North American employers. So now we're actually, we're surveying the companies themselves. What percentage reported not having enough leadership successors in place?
Oh, my word.
They're saying we don't have enough leaders in our pipeline.
We have no pipeline. We have no succession plan. It's going to be high, Brian. I'm going to go high.
Are you going to go over or under? 60% of employers reported that they do not have enough leaders in place.
I'm 100% going over, regardless of what Terry says.
Yes,
Terry,
over.
Yes. Thank you,
agree.
Terry.
I agree, Pete. Yeah.
Good luck, John. What's everybody saying, Brian?
Let's see. Over. Everybody's saying over. Everybody thinks that companies are
not doing succession planning.
That they're just not succession planning at all. All right. What if I move the line on you? What if I said over or under 70%? Would you still say over?
I would guess between 60 and 70, probably.
It's actually 54%. Still more than half. Yeah, still more than half of employers say that they just don't have enough leaders in the pipeline. Worse, 14% said, we don't even know.
We have no idea if we've got leaders in the pipeline.
Yeah,
hey, I'm so mad at that stat, I just hung up on Terry without even saying goodbye. Because she's my good luck charm, but she
Terry's
gave me the wrong answer.
Ended. Yeah.
So we but actually 50%. So today I was 1 for 3.
Yeah, 1 for 3. So that's over under our game show here on Leadership and Laughs.
Oh man, thank you all for playing. Brian, let's do one more thing today, but before we sort of get out of here. I don't know if I can do this or not. Is that you?
Oh,
what's that?
I think it's a parade.
Is it time for the Daily Disney? Is it time for the Daily Disney?
I'm telling you, this just sounds like Main Street USA to me.
I think I might stop by the Chapeau and pick up some Mickey ears and get them embroidered with my name on it.
Embroidered with, stitched with your name. I'm going to Tony's Town Square restaurant for lunch today, Pete.
Oh, look out for the parade. There's Mickey. Hey, Mickey, what's going on?
I think I can hear the train station voice. He's calling it, "Your attention, please."
Now boarding.
Board.
That's good stuff. All right, here we go. We got some feedback last week. We were going through Disney's guest service guidelines last week, Brian, and there were a couple of people chiming in on the chat that says, this is great stuff, but why are you telling me customer service tips? This is a leadership podcast. And I thought to myself, you are correct, listener, whoever you may be. So let's shift gears today, Brian. We are getting out of the Disney guest service guidelines. And I want to share with you very quickly as we get towards wrapping up the show here, what I call some of Disney's great leader strategies. Brian, are you familiar with the great leader strategies?
Great leader strategies. Yes, we covered those quite a bit. Disney does a really good job of making sure that their employees, known as cast members, are well versed. And you can never leave Disney and say, "No, I never heard of that."
Correct. And if you are a Disney fanatic or you like Disney strategies as far as leadership and customer service, may I recommend a gentleman by the name of Lee Cockerell. Lee Cockerell, he is now also a professional speaker. He's written 3 or 4 books. He was our executive vice president, Brian, when we worked there. And he was kind of the architect of these great leader strategies, helping to design them so that all leaders would be on the same pace. We've got 13 of them we're going to go through today, and we'll be done in about an hour and a half. So everybody wrap yourselves. What?
Everybody buckle in. No, we don't have time for that, Pete.
Let's just do one.
Let's just do one.
So let's start with number 1, Brian. Design your organizational structure for success. Design your organizational structure for success. Let me tell you what I learned from this. There are so many organizations out there who have departments and they've never stopped and taken a look. And why do we have this department? Why is the flow chart like this? Why is the org chart like this? Why does this group report to this group? They just sort of, why do you have training and development reporting up through the legal department? Oh, it's just the way it's always been. Why do you have your food and beverage team coming up through human resources? Oh, because they were in operations. That's a huge mistake. Disney teaches you that you need to be willing, Brian, to recreate the structure and change your whole approach as needed. So tip number one is make sure that you know and think about your own department. Those of you who are supervisors or leaders right now, who do you report up through? Who do you report with? Who do you connect with? And does your structure need to be redone? The other great point about this, that's one of the subtopics here, is no one should be able to hide in the structure. What do you think that means, Brian? What do you think that means, Brian? No one should be able to hide in your organizational structure.
I think it goes to accountability, doesn't it? I mean, you
Right.
can't just sort of punch in and punch out and be disengaged and just nobody really wants to promote me. Nobody wants to demote me. I'm just gonna, come to work every day, do my job, cash my paycheck.
And do you know what leaders do with those people, Brian? Is they say, they're such low performers. They're not giving me anything. I don't want them on this team, but I really don't want to go through the trouble of firing or coaching. So let's put them in a closet. Here's your own office. Here's a desk. You just work on these TPS reports.
Yes, here's your red stapler.
Here's your red stapler and Office Space reference. And you just do your work. And people ask, what does that person do? Well, no one knows. Why are they still here? Well, no one knows. So you're right. When you have these low performers, if they're hiding in your structure, they don't show up anywhere, they just exist, someone needs to be involved with that. So again, what does your organizational structure look like, your departmental structure, and make sure that you work on that. How's that for a leadership lesson today?
There you go. A little leadership lesson.
So that, my friend, is your daily Disney, which brings us to, again, wrapping up the end here, Brian, of our fantastic podcast. But I think we always like to end with something called Did You Know?
Did you know? Did you know? We talked earlier, Pete, about peeing in the pool, which was it was a riveting conversation. Hey, Pete, did you know that the same survey found that 36% of pool owners said if they peed in the pool, they would tell all their friends?
So 30% are going to pee in the pool, but 36% have no problem.
No. Yeah.
If I'm swimming along in your pool and I'm like, that feels warm, you're going to go,
oh, yeah, you just swim through my pee, dude.
That was me, bro. Oh, Joseph's calling in. Joseph apparently has a peeing in the pool story. So let me lower the music a little bit as we get ready to sort of wrap this up. Hey, Joseph's one of our loyal listeners. Thanks for being on the air, buddy. What's happening?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. And so first, Brian, condolences that you have to do the show with Pete. That's the first thing.
Thanks, Joseph.
But second, I'm really surprised you guys didn't bring up the corollary to the pee in the pool thing, which is you don't crap where you eat. That's the corollary. And you know what that means, of course.
Give us the leadership analogy.
The leadership analogy is, this is for leaders, is you don't do bad things where you work. Don't get into relationships, personal relationships. Don't do all those bad things. So that's kind of a corollary to it.
You're exactly right. We need to actually, 36% of people, if they crap where they work, would say, yep, that was me. I'm dating my coworker.
I did that.
Yep, I'm stealing from the company. That's me. Yep. That's a great point, Joseph. Great point. Thanks for calling, my friend.
Thanks, Joseph.
Oh,
You're
that's
welcome.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Oh, Brian. Hey, we had some technical problems today, buddy, but we rocked and rolled. I think we got it done.
I think it was a good show. That's number 8 in the books, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Tell your friends to join in at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, or maybe a few minutes afterwards, since apparently it takes 20 minutes for us to get up and get going. We'll get it fixed by next week, Brian. I promise.
That's right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for calling in, Joseph and Terry. Thanks for everybody texting in, and we'll see you next week.
Shout out the listeners. Give all our listeners a pump.
Oh my gosh, we got the one and only Jilly Jill who's been texting in. Our good friend Buglet from West Florida, from Tampa area. Tony says you overcame. Great work. Thanks, Tony. Of course, you know we had Joseph and we had Michael and let's see. Oh, Tradville, loyal listener. Music Lady. We love you, Music Lady.
What is called JHY7HQ.
Ooh, JHY7HQ. I dated that person in high school. Just kidding. I don't know who that is. Just kidding, Terry. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you to everybody who's called in and texted in today. We'll see you next time on Leadership and Laughs with Pete Fry.
Pete Fry.